What's the secret? Well, we was in, no, I went, this, see, we were Florida Association.
July 9th, 2013, Gulf County Board of County Commissioners down session.
Bow your head. Father, we are so thankful for the many blessings that you give us each day. Thank you for the opportunity to come here and take care of county freedoms we enjoy. Father, we thank you for our families. And thank you, Father, for our staff. Please bless this meeting. I pray, God, that you will give guidance and direction to the commissioners as they take care of business.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd just like to thank everybody for coming out to our meeting. I hope everybody had a happy and a safe 4th of July. This weekend, I know it was a wet one. At this time, I want to see, can I get a motion from the board to accept the consent agenda?
Chairman, I need to abstain from page 10 and 11.
I'll make the motion, Mr. Chairman.
I got a motion by Mr. Mike Moore.
I'll second it, Mr.
Second by
Chairman.
Mr. Mike Daniels. Any opposed? No opposed. Motion carries 5-0. Is it 5-0 on the whole thing and then 4?
I vote but for those 2 pages that the commissioner abstained from, and Ms. Carey will give him the form to fill out, and you can state the purpose on the record.
As follows.
Mr. Chairman, first on our agenda this morning is Mr. Homer Hurt with River Waste South.
Thank you for allowing me to come in. I'm Homer Hurt. I'm president of Riverway South Apalachicola Choctawhatchee, an 8-county rural tourism group. And you've been a member of it since the beginning of our time. I apologize for dressing like this. We invited the governor down to Jackson County Sunday, and we were dressed up, and he had on his jeans and his boots because he thought anything we had in Jackson County was connected with barbecue. So he was underdressed and we were overdressed. So I want to quickly go through a few things here, but first I want to say something about our river, our ACF river system. A few years ago, someone asked me how long I had been active in that controversy. And I very proudly said 12 years. He said, isn't it time to quit? Well, I didn't think so, and I haven't quit, but I've had other people join us. And your commissioner, Ward McDaniel, has been very active, and I'm very proud. Maybe I can quit now because he's taken quite a emphasis on that and works hard. He is a member of the our group here on the Apalachicola River, our caucus. He is also, more importantly to me, a member of the 58-person governing board that encompasses all 3 states. And when you pay $250 a year for the privilege of sitting down with folks from Atlanta and Columbus and Phoenix City and arguing with them, you've got to have your heart and soul in it. And Ward McDaniel has that. And besides that, I think you were kin to Poley, Captain Poley.
That was my grandfather.
Well, we go back that far. I missed a generation there, but I knew Captain Poley well. I'm not here to ask for money. Y'all can relax. I'm here to thank you for giving us $5,000 earlier this year. I came down and asked for it through the TDC. I didn't get a chance to say much before the motion was passed. But I want to tell you that what we have right now, but because of that 5,000 and 25,000 more that came from other counties in our 8-county group, we now have $94,000 matching funds committed by DEO, the governor's office, for development of rural and nature-based tourism in our 8-county group. So we're very proud of that. I have a quick handout for you and a letter of appreciation. Mr. Chairman, you get the only one that signed. full-fledged office. First is the cover letter. The second is, the next page is, the statement from EPO telling us that we have scraps. And the third is something that I've used several times in presentation about our 8-county group. So what we have now is a professional organization that is going to represent each county and each part of each county. And the other day we had a flea across Florida, which is a long flea market thing down US 90. And I happened to be in on a little flea market area there in Jackson County, and this is what I picked up for $1.80. It says, "We love Flea Hitchcock." And someone said, "Why did you want that?" I said, "Because that represents a very important part of our area." I told them about Yulee's Gold and Mr. Lanier's backyard where you can go in. People say, "Can you still do that? Go in Mr. Lanier's backyard and pick up a jar of honey and leave the money on the table." I said, "You sure can." But you can also go down to Gulf County, the beautiful beaches that families like. Go over to Apalachicola to the beginning of the river. And what we're going to have there before long, the voyage of discovery, with people going up the river in a stern wheeler. What we have up in Jackson County are trails and historical events. What we have in Gadsden County is the corner of our country, where our country actually started, back whenever we became a country. We don't realize that. So we've got an 8-county group, including Washington and Holmes County, that's tremendous. And we're going to tell that story, and we're going to do it through a professional by the name of Pam Portwood, who came aboard the first day of July. And she is going to work with us and with you folks to accomplish your objectives. I have a long list I could read, but they don't allow me but 3 minutes up in Jackson County, so I'm going to have mercy on you. But I would like to ask one favor. We have not had an active member from Gulf County on our board of directors for some time. Ms. Fisher was appointed, but she was not able to be active. Right now, unless you've appointed someone recently, we don't have anyone. But what we would like to do is to have 2 members on the board. We would love to have, because we're aiming toward professionalism, we would like to have Jennifer represent you. And we'd like to have one other person that is concerned. Doesn't have to be someone that's professional in tourism, because what we have on our board right now, other than myself, who's old and ancient and ready to get out, but we have people like the head of business at Chipola College. We have people like John Alter, who's head of the Chamber of Commerce at home, a retired Navy captain. We have people like that all the way across. Lee Carter, who's the administrator of the city of Chattahoochee. So this is, and Betty Webb is the vice president.
Motion.
Got a motion by Mr. McLean, second by Mr. Yeager. Go ahead on.
That's the main thing I have. Unless you have some questions, I would like to, for y'all to come up with someone, because we're going into a very important time. 2, yes, sir. All right. Do you have any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I would make a comment here. Homer, first, thank you for coming down from Sneed's out of Jackson County, and say in behalf of this young man here, he does a marvelous job. We meet a lot, and just like in my case, the county here puts up $5,000 along with the other 5 counties. I think I'm right there. Anyway,
That's right.
Gaston, Jackson,
Everyone but
Calhoun, Liberty, and
Calhoun.
all the way down.
Yeah.
But we travel and go to these meetings, and the fact of it is I was supposed to have been in Columbus, Georgia last week or the week of the 25th to attend the meetings there, but we were down at FAC, and so I was unable, and I notified them. But I travel. When I go to these meetings, it don't cost taxpayers a penny. I put the whole 9 yards. I stay on my dime, not taxpayers. I do it because it's very important that we do that, and Homer and a lot of them throughout the, not only in Florida, you got people from Alabama and Georgia, and I can truthfully say this, the people in South Alabama, South Georgia, they're in the same boat with Florida, Apalachicola, our big where we run into our obstacles is, when you're dealing with, Atlanta and, you know,
Lake Lanier.
they're the big dog on the block, so, they have a lot of teeth. We have to, struggle for everything we get, but we're making good progress on there and doing some wonderful work on the Apalachicola River and the Chattahoochee and Flint River. Said before, I think the Flint is the second most endangered river in the United States, and the Apalachicola is the fifth. So a lot of work to do, Homer, and I want to personally thank you for everything you do.
Mr. Commissioner.
Can I comment? Just briefly here, you're doing something right. You're making a difference. I know this because I live on the river, and the last 3 or 4 years, they're controlling the dams a lot better. They're not just flooding us off in the mouth. You know, they're trying to hold it to a certain level to keep from doing that. So somebody's making a difference somewhere. And, you know, I think it's your group, so I appreciate
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. We feel like if you have 58 people that we each have our own agenda, but when we can sit down once a quarter and say what we need and then listen to other people. At one time that would have shot on sight. We were that polarized, and now we're not. We sit and talk. But the important thing is we have to have a consensus. In other words, we can't vote 3-2 or 56-2 and pass it. Everyone has to agree with what we come up with. So this has brought us back to looking at the facts, going through the science, the computers, and I don't understand computers at all. But that's what I have a 19-year-old grandson for. And if I had a younger one, I'd use him. But this is important. And when people like Warren and I can sit down with someone out of Atlanta or off of Lake Lanier and say, here's what we have to have down here, and what do you have to have, and where can we meet, then that's very important.
Well, a good, you know, issue just this past 4 or 5 days of the rain that we've had from here right on up Georgia and Alabama. Ordinarily in the past, I'm telling you, we'd have water over the highway up there in Weewalt. And they're able to control it a lot better. So they're doing a lot better job than what they used to.
They listen to us, and the Corps of Engineers is there listening but not participating. And actually, you know, we only have one lawyer on that 58-man board, person board.
That'd be good.
And that is good. And he doesn't speak as a lawyer. Where is it?
But doing a good job. We
Thank
appreciate
you
it.
very much. Any other questions? Please feel free to call on me. You have my card. Betty Webb is right across the way here. She's the vice president. She's actually the one that worked with our grant application and did a tremendously good job.
She's city manager for the city of Apalachicola. Homer, have a good, safe trip.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, we have a request by Ms. Olga Seymour in reference to 2 running event permits.
Hello. How you doing? Olga Seymour, 201 Bunkers Cove Road, Panama City. I'm applying for permits to use your roads and Beacon Hill Park for 2 events. One is September 14th. That's a triathlon. It's been taking place since 2005. And the other one is it's a new event. Don't really know how many people are gonna be, how many people are gonna bring, but that will be October 5th, and it's a run for breast cancer. 5K, 10K, and 15K for breast cancer. So the run doesn't go on the roads at all, doesn't affect traffic at all. It's just inside the park, and we stay on 98 for very little time and stay on the shoulder. We don't go on the road at all. The triathlon, we go on the road. We work with our sheriff controlling the traffic. Never had any problems. So that's it.
Any questions from the board?
Yes, question. The first one is inside the park.
The October 5th, correct.
So but the first one is...
It just doesn't go on main
Okay,
road.
all right, the triathlon, is that a for profit? You charge people to run it?
Of course.
Okay.
Well, you always do, even the,
All
even the
right,
second
all right.
one.
It is a
But,
for-profit, and
Right.
where does the profit go?
Most of it really just covers. If it makes a little more, we just give them more. It just covers the expenses. It doesn't make a whole lot of money. It's just,
We, who's we?
me and my friends.
Oh, so
Just,
you and your
just
friends?
people with traffic.
Okay, all right. Now, my next question, you will need law enforcement there, you'll need traffic control for this triathlon.
Right.
And have you spoken with our sheriff, you know Sheriff Harrison here?
Mhm. We worked in the April events together.
You're gonna have to work that out with him, and if he needs any compensation.
That was no problem at all in April.
All
We
right, I
worked
just
it
want to
out.
make that clear, it is a
Absolutely.
for-profit.
Sure.
And, okay, all right.
Just that gentleman, we just went through this issue here at the last board meeting, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you can't do a profit organization in a county park. You can't make money on that. Am I right with that, Mr. Attorney?
Are you referring to, no, I'm not aware of any policy or ordinance that you have that you can't have an event in the parks, for profit or not for profit. Are you referring to the Welcome Center facility?
Yes.
The last meeting?
Yes.
The TDC had a policy in place that they weren't renting that facility out outside of county functions. This is a county park, so they're two separate.
Okay, but what you're telling me then, I can go to Hunterville Park as a private citizen and set up something and make money on it legally. Is that what you're telling me?
And I don't know if she's a not-for-profit 501c3 or not, but if she's not, she's coming to you all requesting a permit to have a function in a park. There's been functions in your parks in the past that have been for-profit or fundraisers. Whether they're for-profit or not-for-profit, you don't have anything right now that prohibits somebody, a business, to go in and use your parks for that purpose. She's requesting a permit to go into the park and use it for, I think you just said you're using probably most of your funds to run the event itself.
Correct.
So I don't know if it's an exact business. I think it's just but there's nothing in your books right now in terms of policies restricting it.
You know, I think we need to be careful about if we don't allow this. I mean, you've got all of your baseball organizations that do fundraisers in those parks. So those aren't 501c3s. They're just making money to do the event. This event, from what I understand, has had its issues in the past with some of the law enforcement. I think that we've got that worked out. And at the end of the day, they do bring people in to stay in our community.
I don't have an issue with it. I just want to make sure that we don't get into trouble with this.
And I think we need to use our parks. That's what they're for. They're for everybody in the community. And if somebody is organizing an event to bring folks into the park, I think that we need to support that.
I spent Memorial Weekend here just training, writing, and we actually ended up meeting here. People that come for the race, they from Georgia, they actually came here. We ended up meeting 8 of us that had families here that we didn't know we were going to be here. They just spend the weekend here outside the race just training. It was neat. It just brings people here.
I think the commissioner, there's one point that you can explore, and it's something that maybe addresses what you're concerned about, is you have a lot of fish fries and functions for the little leagues and all those types of events in the parks. If you have a for-profit event where you're going to bring in a bunch of folks for a private organization, there is the insurance, and like I said, the county has their immunity, the county has their insurance policies, but depending on types of events, it's worth exploring on what they are, who comes to the parks, whether or not there's an additional insurance policy that should be put in place as the county names an additional insured. So we've done that in the past in some of our facilities. So I think on a case-by-case basis, we should look at that. And if certain events, such as the one that she's talking about right now, bring 100 or 200 people into a park for a for-profit event, it may raise the level of you should explore possibly putting a rider on it for that day to cover the county as an additional policy in place. So I think that's worth noting and covering the county as you guys go forward.
I do have insurance by USA Triathlon Sanction, and it covers the park, volunteers, and athletes up to $2 million.
And she's done this in the past, and all we'd ask for, and she's done it in the past, is add the county as an additional insured on those policies for that day. And similar events.
I can provide paperwork.
One other question I'm through. Well, you're going to clean up after you get through. I mean, when your triathlon's over, everybody will congregate there at the park, which is good. But, what about have you made any arrangements for your
Always,
garbage or?
we always clean up.
Okay.
We
Huh?
put the trash bags behind the bathrooms,
Okay.
so the wind wouldn't take them away.
Good deal.
We got pictures, all documented.
Let's hope you have a good turnout.
Thank you.
So maybe the people will come down and spend some money here in Fort St. Joe and stay in some of our
Yeah.
spend the night with us.
Yeah.
Spend some money with us.
That's some money eat. We eat a lot.
Money in our restaurants. We need it. Okay, we need anything we can get. Thank you.
Thank
No
you.
comments from the board?
Do you need a motion?
I'll make the motion to grant the permit,
Motion by
for,
Ms. Brown,
both events.
Second.
second by Mr. Yeager. Any opposed? Opposed? Y'all have a nice time, okay?
Thank you.
That's all we have.
Sherry? Becky?
I don't have anything, Mr. Chairman.
TDC Director.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, in front of you, you have the monthly report for the month of June for the TDC. I'll just go through a couple highlights, and if you have any questions. The first 8 months of this fiscal year, all with the exception of November, TDC bed tax revenues were up. May was up, an increase of 3.75% over May of 2012. We're up just under 13% pacing for the first 7 months. Comparatively, when we look at our neighbors, through May, we were up 15%, and South Walton was 14%, Santa Rosa County was 5%, and Bay County was 8%. So percentage-wise, we're leading the pack, which is nice to see. We are continuing to push all increase back to the website. In June, the numbers were up 62% for the web traffic from June 2002. We've had 25% growth from May of 2013 to June 2013, and 72% of them are new visitors. So our program is working. We continue to spend for Google AdWords, and it continues to be the top referrer to our site. The report is in there. You'll see of the 36,000 plus visits that came to the site in the month of June, 23,000 were coming from our cost per click program, with an average cost per click for 51 cents. Now, that's a lot of numbers in there, but that's very good. We're pacing well. Our return on investment is really where I want it to be. We're also handing traffic off to partner sites, so when our partners want to know what we're doing for them, I had an instance in May where one of my partners said, "What are you doing? Are you sending me any traffic?" And I can show them that I am sending traffic. So our investment on social media and digital media is a direct reflection and direct return to our partners. In June, for social media, we had an increase of 4.8% over May. We have a total of 463 new likes just from our social media program. When we were averaging 1 or 2 a day, we're up to 463, and we're reaching weekly. Our impressions are well over 560,000. So that program's working well. The Welcome Center, the numbers are up 34% over last year, and of the 85,000 visitor guides that we received in late March, we've already distributed just about 36,000. So we're pacing well with that. Spent a lot of time this month with Cameo Productions, and they're working on a couple of those reels that we talked about last month. We've had a social media partner workshop and some one-on-one partner workshops with our partners earlier this month. The April Hobie kayak visit that we have is starting to pay off. There's 2 great articles this month, one in Guy Harvey Magazine and one in GAF. So, Guy Harvey Magazine, if we purchased the space that the article covers, it would have been about $15,000, and the distribution 69% in the southeast market. So it overlaps our market area. And in GAF, it would have been about $5,400, and they distribute 200,000 magazines, and that's not even online. Their online and their print reaches about 860,000 people. So it's nice. We hosted them, and it's starting to pay off. We had a lot of local news coverage in June, a lot from WMBB and JHG with the 100th anniversary, the 100th celebration with the scallop season, and then they did a year in review for the TDC, so we're getting really good local coverage. I met with Mr. Gonzalez from St. Joe Company and discussed looking into the possibility of bringing in boutique cruise lines with a request from my council, and I did that, and I will be reporting to you on the progress of that when I get there. I need some time to do some legwork. And based on the direction from the Budget Committee last week, I met with my council yesterday and discussed exploring some options to either increase bed tax or somehow find funds to implement a beach safety program. And that's still in process. Thank you.
Mr. Houston.
No, this time.
Great.
Yes, sir. Morning, Commissioners. Today I've got insurance recommendations from the committee, and you all should have one. I think what I'd like to do is go through this letter. It addresses all the recommendations. If you want to stop me, you can, or questions afterwards. Please see this letter as a unanimous recommendation from the Insurance Committee at its last meeting, July 3rd, 2013, was Wednesday. Health insurance. Insurance Committee recommends we move forward with a single HSA plan under Public Risk Management, PRM, that will be administered by Florida Blue, formerly known as Blue Cross Blue Shield of Florida. We represent an increase of approximately 6.5% as compared to our most popular plan. Please note that PRM is a self-insured pool, and there are some risks to the county, although historically results make it look unlikely. The recommendation is made on the assumption that PRM contract for signature matches up with terms and conditions negotiated through the RFP process with combined insurance company. In addition, Gulf County Group will need to be accepted by the reinsurance provider, which appears highly unlikely. Dental insurance. The Insurance Committee recommends that we accept the offer for our current provider, Florida Combined Life, with a 1-year commitment at a 20% increase, approximately $100 a month to the county. The dental plan was bid on the open market, and Florida Combined Life offer yields the best overall value for price and participating dentists compared to competitors. Our life insurance, our Insurance Committee recommends we accept the renewal offer with ING, an increase of approximately $100 a month with a 2-year rate guarantee. This represents a total percentage increase considering all premium of approximately 4.4%, as an employee payroll deduction are renewed at no charge. Vision insurance, which is voluntary. Insurance Committee recommends we move forward with a 2-year renewal with our current provider, Humana, with no change in premium with a 2-year rate guarantee. Voluntary worksite benefits. Insurance Committee recommends we continue with no changes with American Fidelity Assurance Company, which handles our online enrollment. If one thing I want to touch on before questions, if you'll turn to the back page regarding health insurance, you'll notice Public Risk Management. It's the plan on the end in purple. It's a single HSA plan that they're offering for the entire county. A $1,500 individual deductible, $3,000 family. After they meet that deductible, basically they're covered. prescription and all. I think it's a rich plan. It's something the employees have not seen in a long time, and I believe they'll be extremely happy. Also will be administered by Blue Cross. Our providers will be there, such as Quest, that we've had an issue with in the past. The Currys, there'll be a provider. I think it's a no-brainer to go this route. But any questions?
Brett, it looks like, I mean, this is a lot better policy than what we had before with just a 6% increase when we were expecting 20%. So I do think that's a no-brainer. Good plan.
We, Commissioner on the Insurance Committee, we studied this long and hard, and I think with United Healthcare, we were looking like an 18% increase, and we just couldn't do this. This is a good policy, and as Brett stated, it does have a factor there. Then it's out of a pool, and it's been in existence for 25 years. That was one of the selling points. And we're going to give it a spin and see how we go with it. Be better, and we have got more doctors involved with, and it's back under Blue Cross Blue Shield. Now, not directly, but this is a company that's affiliated with them, so I think we'll have better. It'll be better all around for everyone. You're doing. Brett, I want to thank you and Combined Insurance for the time that you have, and the committee for putting their time into this and trying to come up with something that we can all live with and not break us.
One thing I feel like I need to touch on as well, because we've been working on it as well through the budget process, and it's being in the pool, and you'll notice our rate at the bottom of that page. It's the revised rate, and then you have the rate with run out, and what that means is
So on the right, run out.
Right, and what that means is if we ever leave the pool, we're held to 3 months worth of administration fees, that comes up to about 3%. What our plan is to go ahead and pay that higher rate, go ahead and budget for the higher rate, and take that 3%, escrow it into an account. That way, if we ever leave, we'll leave sometime, or if we want to leave at some time, we'll have it there. So that would be our recommendation.
Mr. Chairman, if you need a motion, I'll motion to approve the recommendations from the Insurance Committee.
Motion by Mr. Yeager. Can I get a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
I got a second by Mr. Michael Moore. Any opposed? Do I have any opposed? No opposed, motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
So, go. Michael. Attorney.
Mr. Chairman, first item I have is a couple updates for the commission, follow-up from our last meeting. The first one is with regards to our interlocal agreement and your joint meeting with the city. I've been working with Tom Gibson over the last few weeks, and we're ideally going to have something we can circulate to the commission, our respective commissions, in the coming 2 weeks, for you all to review, provide responses, and then ideally come back and you can talk about it at the end of the month with regards to the various language from the city and the county and going back and forth so we can continue to move that process forward. The second issue is with regards to, we had Ms. Lindeman and Mr. Hall here recently last month with regards to the public health services in the north end of the county. Since that time, Commissioner McDaniel and Commissioner McLemore have been working with, as well as with Sacred Heart and Roger Hall's staff, in trying to put together a public workshop. We have one tentatively scheduled now for July 30th. It's at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time at Honeyville Rec Center, and we have the health department will be a part of it. Sacred Heart will be there. There's going to be a question and answer, an informational session from Sacred Heart and the health department. And the commissioners, we've noticed it, so it's open to all the commissioners to come. It'll be compliant with sunshine, so you all can offer comments and discussions if you feel as though you want to. And it's open to the public, so we're going to get notices out throughout the community. We're going to advertise it in the paper, and we'll move forward towards the end of the month. And certainly if you have any questions at our meeting on the 23rd, we'll be happy to address them at that time too. Wanted to update you all with regards to the Port Authority. On page 50 of your information packet, you have a letter from the Port Authority attorney, also Mr. Gibson, addressing the request, and we've had discussions in the last 2 months with regards to substitution of collateral on our loan agreement for the Port Authority. The letter from Mr. Gibson in your information packet addresses the issues that they're confronted with that are coming up on their summary judgment hearing, I believe scheduled for the 16th of this month. So just in our discussions to let you all know that we'll continue to move that issue forward. Obviously they have a couple legal issues that they need to resolve with the court and with their primary lender. Once those issues are resolved, then we can further explore additional collateral, if you will, on our loan agreement that we have with them currently. The Commissioner Yeager most recently had introduced a motion with regards to our Fish and Wildlife HCP grant extension. Wanted to update you all. In the last 2 weeks, we've received confirmation per your request for the extension on that grant. That has been provided to Gulf County. That was the first step. The second step is now entering the contract that you all motioned to approve, subject to attorney review. Once I receive that from Fish and Wildlife, I'll review the contract. We'll get it executed by the chairman, and then we'll move forward with the HCP plan. Once we have it in place, I'll provide that to the clerk's office as well for record. Redistricting. At your last meeting, you authorized me to reach out to our special counsel, Mr. Spellman of Sniffen and Spellman, with regards to having him come down. He obviously giving him some dates of some meetings. Today was too soon a notice with his court calendar and his trial schedule. He's looking at later this month. I know we have a couple of meetings coming up in the coming weeks. I provided what dates I can for the 23rd, and also asked him to get back to us so he can come down and make a presentation when he has an availability to do so. He also extended an invitation if there's questions individually from the commissioners up until that date. You certainly he welcomed the opportunity to talk with you one-on-one too. The next thing, you each have a proclamation in front of you. In working with Commissioner Yeager, I believe recently the St. Joe Company was working with the Port Authority as well as with the port. And I don't know, Commissioner, do you want to comment on it and let you introduce it?
Let me just say this proclamation come about. I've been trying to work with St. Joe Company on let's try to figure out how the county can help them also in requesting funds for dredging and getting this port moving forward. And one of the things that George Gonzalez with St. Joe agreed with me on as a resolution from the county commission. And also I will take this resolution once we approve it, and I'll take it to the other counties that have shown a real interest in involving themselves with the process, because they know this is a regional project and will help their counties. So in moving that forward, I had the attorney draft this proclamation, and it's a proclamation in support of basically the port and the Port Authority and St. Joe Company's efforts also. With that, if Mr. Chairman, if I could provide a motion to approve this proclamation, I'll make that motion.
Got a motion by Mr. Yeager.
Second.
Second by Mr. McDaniel. Any opposed? Do I have any opposed? No opposed. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, the next item I have for you today is recently moved to accept the partial distribution and claim settlement from BP. Our special counsel, Beasley Allen, has now provided those funds. I have the funds provided to them from the trust. I'll provide to the clerk's office today and provide a copy of the loan check to the commission. What's going to be tendered to the county is $20,781.68 that you all authorized the chairman to sign the distribution authorization last month. We've now received those funds. I'll provide them to the clerk's office. And just to recap, that is for claims of about 3 years ago of initial outlays and expenses incurred by the county. This is separate and apart from your current litigation with BP. This is reimbursement under a partial reimbursement under the claims process. Okay. Any questions from the commissioners? If I can update you all, and just for the public as well, there's a couple ordinances that will be advertised in the local paper in the coming 2 weeks. We have several ordinances. One, you recently approved the land development regulations. In that language that was sent up, and Mr. David met the deadline for the grant. It was to be submitted to the state prior to the end of the last month. That's all been accomplished. David's not with us right now, but I just wanted to report to you all that that's all been met, those deadlines. in there's some language with regards to LDRs that we're going to memorialize through ordinance form. They have to do with land use under the statute. It requires 2 public hearings. So we'll advertise those land use amendments in the local paper, and through that then we'll have our public hearings at the end of this month and the first meeting of August. And we obviously encourage the public to come and offer any public comment that they may have at that time. That's all I have at the time, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, a couple items. One is budget. The budget review committee met last week, led by Commissioner McDonald. We were looking at options, potential revenue options that we can talk to you guys about once we start talking budget. The clerk should have your budget book ready, your request book ready by the 15th, next Monday. Soon after then, next day or the next day or two, we need to have a budget meeting or meetings. We've got to have a tentative millage rate set by August 4th. Really need it by the 1st. Have a short narrow window to get the tentative millage rate set. So maybe Tuesday we can meet, or Wednesday we can meet, whenever you guys can meet. So the chairman will try to coordinate a meeting between everyone. The meeting can be any time of day. It doesn't have to be after 5 o'clock. This is not one of the hearings that got to occur in September. So that's one thing. Budget time's here. We're working on it. It'll be in front of you next Monday. You should have a copy Monday of the request. Next thing is we do receive a resignation from BSO James Kennedy. He's going to be leaving after September. Hate to leave James. He's been great. It's been smooth. He's run a smooth operation. But we'll start looking for someone to replace James. That's all I have.
Mr. Butler, if you would, on the budget, set it up just as soon as possible, and had to try to get it at the convenience of the most your constitutional officers, where we can have the lion's share of them there to handle this. Would you please, and notify them? Thank you.
Sheriff?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I do have a couple of questions, and I'm going to address Commissioner Bryan with this. Commissioner Bryan, do you have a county cell phone?
Yes.
Does it work?
Why don't you get to the point?
Okay, I get to the point that I have received several phone calls from your constituents. Let me finish, and then you have your turn, okay? That they're not able to get a hold of you, that you won't return their phone calls on the issues out there in your district that I'm having to send my work crews out there and take care of. And you know what's going on? That's all I'm asking.
Okay, Commissioner McLemore, I'd like to know who has claimed to call, that I have not returned their call, and I'd like to know what issues you've had to have your work crew go out for. Who has called you?
I've had several that's given me a call, and I can...
Let's hear who they are.
I think right on down the board here, I think several of the board members is having to take a lot of your phone calls.
Well, I need to know who these folks are so I can get back to them. I have no idea who they are.
I'll get you a list, okay?
I'd like to know now. Why don't you tell me at least one name?
Miss Bird on St. Joe Beach.
What's her name?
Bird. I had to go out there and actually send my crews out there and make some drainage ditches work.
I have had...
Because you will not...
I have had no calls from Bird.
Check your phone and see if it's working. You may have a bad phone.
My phone is working. I've received a considerable amount of calls since the rain. I have been out to many people's homes. I've been all over my district. And as far as you sending your work crews out, I thought that the work crews were all county work crews. I didn't think they really belonged to any particular commissioner.
They are county crews, and I send mine all over the county.
And I appreciate that.
You're a commissioner, and you should do your part. This is a team here. We're split up into 5 teams here.
Well,
you should do your part.
I think it's clear what's going on here. I'm not going to argue with you. If you have a list of folks, I would like for you to produce it, and I will follow up with them But I promise you that I am returning calls. I've had a tremendous amount of calls because of standing water. And I get calls from your area also. But
Really?
I don't have an issue with that because I feel that I'm a county commissioner for the entire county. And anyone in the county will feel free to call me.
We all can't talk at the same time.
I respect that. You know, anything you hear called in my district, go to it, you know.
I will talk to anyone in the county who wants to call. And I will be waiting for your list. And any of the other commissioners here, if you have a list of folks that have been calling you because I apparently am not getting their calls, please let me know.
Let me just do this, and I don't want to put the commissioners on the spot here. Commissioner Yeager, have you received calls out of District 3?
Well, I received calls from all over the county, but I have received some calls. I've actually forwarded them to Commissioner Bryan before.
And I've had a couple of calls that they have said they've spoken with Commissioner Yeager, and I believe some of them spoke to you because they knew you.
Okay, Mr. McDaniel, have you received calls?
Well, yes, all over the county, and I'll just go ahead. Being on the issue, I was in Overstreet at 6:30 this morning, St. Joe time. Silas Green, who lives on, I think it's Hummingbird, and to check that road, and they got to have some. I was going to bring that up.
I'm just asking.
And I was up in Overstreet
Williams called me, and I was out there Saturday and Sunday.
I was out there Sunday with Marshall Nelson, and you were up there. I have been up to Overstreet, and they may call you, Mr. McDaniel, because you've been their commissioner in the past, and I did not get a call from Mr. Green, but if you pass any of those on to me, I'm happy to call them. And some of the folks probably call people they know, or that they know better than they know me, and I'm happy to call them. I'm not shirking my duties, and I'll be waiting for your list.
Okay.
And I appreciate any assistance that the other commissioners provide to District 3. And we'll do everything I can to help you in your districts as well.
Just one or two things. For the public's information, there's going to be a public hearing by DOT on C30, and any of the commissioners are invited to attend, but it's more for the public, I think, information. It's July the 16th from 5 to 6 p.m., and it's going to be at the Buffer Preserve. I think they're getting close to finishing with the engineering on that project, but this gives the public an opportunity to look at that design, and make any comments that they want to do. So, just for public information, and really that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Yeager, where's that Buffer Preserve? This location?
If you'll go down C30, it'll be on the right, about halfway down. It's a DEP building. Used to be privately owned, but DEP acquired that for a buffer for St. Joe Bay. And it's a pretty large building and got a pretty large parking lot there.
Just one thing, no vote required. Everyone, we had a wet 4th. Terribly wet. And really and truly, Gulf County was lucky in one sense that the rain was kind of spread out. We did not get the brunt of it like neighboring counties, I think in Walton and possibly Jackson, Washington, Northern Bay County. But Mr. Lewis is here with our road, with Public Works, and this morning I got up early and came through, went through Overstreet, looked, because I know from representing that district in the past, we do have some problems there, and yesterday I asked the assistant to ride the county on our roads, check them, see what was passable, impassable, and let's prioritize this. And Jake, if you would, the ones with the probably this Hummingbird, you can't do anything today, it's too wet, but got a lot of people there that depend on that, and I don't think you could get an ambulance in there this morning. The road is so bad I had to just bump through each hole, but just go there, and the next road it looks like is maybe the Jarrett Daniels, but these outlying roads like 20 and up in, I understand the Old Bay City roads, it's good and passable, but we can get that next. But 20 Saul's Creek, put them on the bottom of the list, but let's get these roads that the people depend on. When the weather permits and you can get in there, try to get them back for the people if you would. That's all, Mr. Chairman, just get our road back.
Public discussion.
Mr. Chairman, can I
Yes, sir.
recognize, actually, I'd like to recognize the 12 and under girls.
Oh, yeah.
Softball team.
I forgot about that.
They've done it again. They went down state, and the sheriff is a big part of this, and, they brought back the trophy again, so,
Did extremely well. The Dixie U softball girls for the 12U division last year, the 10U won the state championship, and this year the 12U, which is about 4 of them, were on the same team that moved up, went down and showed out very well, represented Gulf County very well, and brought home the state championship. At this point, we're trying to get ready for World Series in South Carolina, which will be coming up later this month, and any assistance we can get in that, we surely appreciate it.
thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Public discussion. Ms. Williams.
Or Mr. Chairman, Mr. Commissioners, just real brief. I know y'all find it hard to believe that I could be brief, but to be on this side, it's much better to watch it than do it, so I appreciate that. Basically, I want to bring real quickly some attention to the board that I had contact with Mr. Novak about a month ago regarding the sign at Beacon Hill that apparently that had been notified to be torn down, etc. I at that time told him that I had not been contacted directly. I think there was some confusion. So I talked to Mr. Aiken. I guess they didn't think that I still owned the sign. It was not transferred in that process. I do know that the sign is in disrepair. That needs to be brought up, but what I'm asking the board to look at is that, when we did that, and that sign's been there basically, I think, since like 98, 99, when I first built the assisted living. But there was an extension that was put together with Bureau of Land Management and with Gulf County. That has expired, to my understanding, which is, I think, is the biggest issue, that we're willing to put their dollars to repair that. But I have to have the commitment on the county side that they're going to extend that agreement. That being said, that was kind of a unique situation because at that time it was tied to a business versus where it is now because that sign's on county property. So the best sort of purpose that I can think of, obviously being a former commissioner, is knowing that area, is that park is a tremendous gateway to the community and to what's happening within our county. So my thoughts were, if in fact the county commission would agree with that extension, that I would work with the TDC or someone of that nature to put the advertising that the county could use up there for park, for wide county-wide issues at basically no cost to the county. So there's really two sides. One is that looking at the extension before I do the repair. The second basically is a due process. I've not been given due process in the process of being notified because I was never directly notified. So I think it's fair and incumbent that I have the opportunity to repair that and be given that time. But in the same token, there is that catch of, okay, is the county going to work with that on the side of the extension for public use? I think, meeting sort of the ordinance that we worked on prior on public use, this meets a public use that we could go, why would we extend that contract? So with that, that's why I'm here. That came to the attention, through the attorney, that the notification was there. You folks know me, I'd rather look at you face to face and just ask, where we are, what we need to do so we can move forward.
Comment from the board.
I agree that.
Can I give you guys some background? Going back to January, February this year, that sign out on St. Joe Beach was cited by Mike Aiken. We actually got some complaints out on the beach with regards to that sign and its disrepair. Mike Aiken came to me and we told him to cite it under the new sign ordinance for its condition and post a notice on it for it to be torn down if it wasn't brought into compliance. Mike Aiken sent out those notices to what we thought was the owners of that sign, which is, I believe, Steve Schrader, who's reached out to myself. He lives in he owns the facility in District 3. And Mike Aiken and myself have been working with Mr. Schrader for about 3 months. As we were preparing to get ready to tear that sign down, there's no claim of ownership. Mr. Williams came forward and notified Mr. Aiken that he owns the sign. And at that time said he did not receive notice, and we told him what he needed to do was bring the sign into compliance so it meets the ordinance. It's grandfathered in, but it's still it's in disrepair and it needs to be brought up to current code. there's a bigger issue with regards to that sign, which is the land agreement that Mr. Williams just referred to. That land agreement is on a county right-of-way, and that land agreement is expired. So Mike Aiken did some research, brought the issues to my attention. I spoke to Mr. Williams over a month ago and told him that, you know, there's a bigger issue with regards to that sign, which is not the disrepair, but it's the land use element of where that sign sits right now. There's no point in putting the sign into and bringing it into compliance with the code if there's no current right-of-way land agreement on that property. So to not get the cart before the horse, the commission, and I told Mr. Williams he needs to address the first issue, which is the land on which that sign sits, before you go out and fix that sign, because he's claimed ownership of it. So, and I don't know if any of you have that background, but I wanted to bring you all up to speed of my discussions with Mike Aiken and Mr. Schrader, who now owns that facility out there. I think he's put a sign application in with the county under the new sign ordinance. But speaking with Bill over a month ago, I indicated to him that he should submit some kind of request to this commission with regards to that land agreement before you get any further down the road and have Mike do his job on code enforcement. And that's where I believe Mr. Williams is at right now.
I do agree that we have to follow the proper due process. However, the folks out there in the community, the feedback that I have received is that those folks are not in favor of maintaining that sign. The last time I spoke with the Schraders, they did not want to use that sign. They do want a sign, but they would like a different sign. And as far as, I think what you're getting at is maybe using it for the park. I would like to hear from Jennifer on that, but I would think that it's really not in line with the branding that we are trying to do for Gulf County. I think the sign is a bit of an eyesore. It's a very large sign for that area. And I am not in favor of refurbishing the sign. That being said, of course, we need to operate within the due process.
Mr. Chairman, I would go to Jennifer on this also. If that sign could be valuable, you know, to the Tourist Development Council, instead of tearing it down if it's already there, I think we ought to look at it.
I'd like to be able to go back up and look at the sign because, excuse me, I mean, it could direct people into Port St. Joe. I would need to look at it again and see if it could, you know, match our branding. I wouldn't want it to just talk about the park. I would want to talk about the county, and I can go do that and look and.
So the first step, Mr. Attorney, is doing the land use. I mean, we have to do that, or if we don't, that's going to kill the whole project.
My recommendation was to Mike Aiken, which was first, sign, whether it be brought into code compliance or not. The first issue specific to that sign is it sits on a county right of way. So if the extension on the land, and Ms. Jenkins is saying she wants to go out and look at the use, if the commission resolves that issue, then you can talk about code enforcement and turn it back over to county staff. But right now, with regards to that land use where that sign sits, is the first issue that needs to be resolved. So if you know,
Mr. Attorney, let me ask you a question. Right now the sign is grandfathered in, right?
The sign, the structure itself, just the sign, yes, it is. Under the sign ordinance, that sign can, as long as it is kept up under the sign ordinance language, it can stay as long as it's functioning and it's safe. And, you know, structurally, I believe Mike Aiken found it to be sound. It just looks, it's really dilapidated.
But if we remove the sign, what chances do we have of getting the permit and putting something?
Unless you all change your sign ordinance, a sign of that nature would not go back up in this county.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to make a suggestion. This has got a lot of moving parts. So I would suggest that staff work with the attorney and Commissioner Bryan in that district and work, number one, on the issue of the access road. We've been using that access road for a number of years, and I would say that's a county access road now just because we've been using it. However, I would just suggest that county staff work with Ms. Bryan and Jennifer on that issue.
And I just want to note for the commission, I believe Commissioner Bryan's had a good conversation with Mr. Schrader. I have too. He's been a new business owner in the community. He's been very cooperative and helpful, and he's even said he thinks he's willing to come. He's had an open house out there and invited the commissioners. So you know, a part of the discussion too, you know, as he has that facility back there, he's been great to work with the last couple of months, and he's offered to come and speak to you all too, and I know he's worked with Commissioner Bryan, so I certainly bring him into the fold.
Mr. Chairman, if I may respond, I think that there's a couple of issues that I would ask to be very clear. There, as Commissioner Yeager saying, there is a lot of moving parts. I think, number one, the issue here is about the personal property rights of having that building. That was not in the sales transaction to Mr. Schrader. Although I want him to be successful, et cetera, with the assisted living, they're not linked legally. Okay, so that is issue number one. Issue number two is that as that sign went through, again, the point is very well taken. That road cut through from Highway 98, where the sign is, et cetera, which Commissioner Yeager's talking about, is exactly correct. That technically would have expired as well as this agreement, because that's how it was originally formatted when I brought the assisted living facility in. So I think the legal components of what's happening versus what this could be used is very different. The third part of that leg is the due process, that I wasn't given time to retroactively go back and do that because I wasn't officially notified. But what I'm offering is very different. I just don't want them to combine. What I'm saying is I understand as a former commissioner the significance of that park and the ability to advertise that gateway that comes in. And to meet a threshold of public use, what would that be? Why would we do that on a sign? Number one, you'll never have a sign like that. It was structurally engineered. That sign cost $30,000 to put in. So in my mind, if you chose to move forward with not granting, it's a taking, you know, in that process, because it was grandfathered in the process. But what I'm saying is that I think there's more cooperative agreement where we can work with the tourism and work with the county, and that we can advertise the process. So I do think there's a win-win, and I appreciate, you know, your discussion about going through it. I think if we can come up with something that is good for the entire community, it makes sense to make that work.
Well, as far as personal property rights go, it sounds to me, and from what you're saying, is that we've got essentially this sign that is personal property, but it's on government right-of-way, and the agreement has expired. So it's really not a taking. You have the opportunity to take your personal property away.
Part of that discussion, Commissioner, too, I've had, and this has been about 3 or 4 months, after we noticed it, we took pictures of it, the time expired on the ordinance. Mr. Williams came forward and claimed ownership of it. When it was coming down and we had no ownership of it, just like any other sign in this county, the county staff then takes it upon themselves to remove these signs. There's a cost associated with that. Now that Mr. Williams has come forward and said, you know, and has claimed legal ownership of that sign, that is his personal property. There's just 2 resolutions, which is the county staff now is not going to be removing that. It's incumbent upon Mr. Williams to bring that sign into compliance. He's claimed ownership of it. So there are 2 issues. It is his personal property. He's established that. But like I said, there's a land agreement that needs to be resolved as to whether that sign comes into compliance. And I think, you know, before he makes the investment, I think you've indicated it's going to be a costly investment. Before he does that, I think the commission needs to determine whether or not to extend that land agreement.
And before we extend that land agreement, I think we need to determine if we want that sign there. And I think that's where Commissioner Yeager said we need to move forward with working with staff, gather the information, and determine if that is a sign that we want to preserve. It is not a real attractive sign. It's a very large sign, would definitely attract attention, but does it fit with the aesthetics of the area, and does it fit with the branding that Jennifer has worked so hard to accomplish since she's come into this community? And I think that's what we need to examine before we extend anything.
Mr. Chairman, I would ask too that, you know, with this agreement, I think that, you know, a point was very vividly pointed out today, that what also has expired was the agreement for that roadway into those businesses back there. This was not isolated to this sign. When I was worked with the former congressman and getting that cut through was under an economic development side. But the issue that you have is not just this sign, but traffic thoroughfare through that. You know, that has been there since 1998. So I don't think it's in the interest of the county to start picking and choosing, you know, can you use it or not use it. Does it work for the overall mission of the county? I think it's very good. But I like the idea of working with your staff and trying to figure out what we can do.
I think we ought to go with the recommendations of Mr. Staff with us.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make them around this morning. Ironically, I came by there and I pulled in the park. I was looking for a garbage and see what we were there, and the park was in good shape. And it's the big green sign there that it does need some repair. And my understanding is that the roadway going, is that on private property? Road going to access, I know you got to get people egress and ingress, I know that.
Yeah, it's the same, what happened when that was done through an economic development side, there was no access point to that part. What we're talking about where the sign is and actually where the road is.
The road where you turn left going to the park, or you veer on to the, it's curves to the right where all the facilities are on the right.
That was granted all in one basic scenario, so you could go.
Who's clearing that piece of property right there on the right? Is that any,
That's privately
owned? Okay,
yeah, that's
all
privately
right, I
owned.
noticed they were doing that.
That I have no involvement with, but what I'm saying is that right of way and that roadway was all sort of in one piece back in 98, 99. So the right of way to come off of Highway 98 and come up the road that you turned into, as well as where the sign is under the same agreement that has expired, that she's discussing and the attorney's discussing that has expired. That's all the same scenario. So it's not just the sign issue that's at play. It's the scenario of the right-of-way and access of that road. The county has to grant that ongoing process so that vehicles can come in and out of there, which is obviously critical for that business. But I think we can work together on it.
Well, one other thing, if, I really don't care who owns the sign, but if it would be beneficial to this county and it's feasible to do, and it would help promote here, then we need to, here, as Mr. Commissioner Yeager said, let's look into this thing.
It's a great opportunity for both.
Go into it with an open mind. Okay?
Any kind of means of getting information out to the public, if it's going to be a way of getting the information out to the public, I think it'll be good. But we're going to go back to our staff, let Ms. Jennifer work with the attorney and get back with us and let us know exactly what we need.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners.
Thank you, Bill.
We got Ms. McElroy.
Christy McElroy, 1311 Woodward Avenue, my primary residence, Port St. Joe. I would like to just review an item that transpired on May the 28th. It's concerning our Port Authority and the county meeting. There was a letter that was written from Ms. Joanna White that did go into the newspaper to Commissioner Bryan, and I would like that letter entered into the record. The letter concerns the $199,000 loan that the Port Authority requested from the County Commission. And I just want to make sure we set the record straight because, and I think that's why it's important this goes into the county record. It wasn't just one Port Authority commissioner that was requesting this loan, but an entire Port Authority board based off of information provided on Project Tube by the port director, who is responsible and paid for day in, day out operations of the port, and the port director has been responsible for those day in and day out operations for the last 10 years. The Port Authority state-appointed board has changed over that 10 years. Isn't that true, Commissioner Yeager?
Yes, I think.
Okay. But the constant is the port director. The public is invited to sit in on those Port Authority meetings. And they're also invited to sit in on these commission meetings. I've sat in on these meetings as well as Port Authority meetings, as well as Commissioner Bryan has sat in on those meetings. So they are publicly noticed and publicly allowed to be attended. The other item that I would like to enter into the record is a email trail from one of the PAC members concerning Ms. White. And it suggests that there is in some way a conflict of interest for Ms. White to sit on the Port Authority board. This email trail began with Leonard Costin and also Tommy Pitts, and then worked its way through legal. And what was found was Ms. White has no conflict of interest to sit on the board for the Port Authority. So this email trail began with the PAC leader. And again, I would like this entered into the record. So basically our county has...
I would like to interject here. The Port Authority emails between people in the community and the Port Authority board are really not the business of this county board. The Port Authority has their own separate authority. They are not under our authority as a county commission. And I think if we're going to go off into that area, that we are outside of our authority. If the speaker has an issue that addresses this board, then I think that we can go on. But communication between Port Authority board members and the public is not really our concern.
I think you may be wrong there, Miss Bryan, and the reason I say that because there's at least $199,000 involved here.
Well, that was
Coming
the first issue she brought up, but the second issue regarding correspondence between folks in the community and asking questions about board members that sit on the Port Authority, I think that part of it. I'd be happy to talk about the mortgage.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, maybe to shed a little more light, I'd like to extend her some time.
Get a
here.
motion to extend the time. Got a motion by Mr. Mike Daniels. Can I get Mr. Michael Moore? Can I get another second? Can I get a second?
You made the motion? I don't know. All right. Yeah, I'll second.
Mr. Mike Daniels, second by Mr. Mike Daniels.
Well, the way that I feel about it is if you are questioning a commissioner on a public board and that commissioner has been before this board, and also the person that's receiving this email is on that board, and also a director is receiving the email, and it comes from a registered PAC member and chairman. Let me finish.
It's a different board, Ms. McElroy. It's not this board.
Could we have I want to hear what she got to say.
You need to clarify that you're talking about members of a different board, not this board.
I am talking about members of a different board. However, those members have come before this board making requests. And I do believe it is in the public interest for them to understand that no matter if it's this board or other boards that are appointed or voted in, that you have a comfort that there's legitimate people sitting on that board. And if a PAC chairman who has come forth and in times past made accusations concerning appointed members of boards, then I feel that it should be entered into the record.
Can I, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, can I just interject one thing? We have a public comment section, and this is solely with regards to the submission of documents with regards to the record. I know the issues come up in the past. And it would be my recommendation that Ms. McElroy, if she has things she wants to enter on the record, there's correspondence from a citizen in the community to another board. There's correspondence between various people in the community that when you receive requests to place things on the record, it come with the correspondence from Ms. McElroy at the podium offering it to you all. You cannot reject a correspondence. And so I would simply make the recommendation to you to receive it with, if Ms. McElroy wants to place a cover letter, so the trail of transmission is from Ms. McElroy to this body, for simply to offer a document onto the record, but it's not Ms. McElroy's work. You certainly can submit reports all the time, but it would be my recommendation that if there's some kind of transmittal correspondence, you receive correspondence in your packages every day. All you commissioners do, all the staff does. But just so that there's a chain of custody, if you will. I know Ms. McElroy is offering these things into the record. I've had discussions with the clerk as the custodian of records in the past as to what is the formal record. Everything that the community submits to this county becomes part of the record, okay? It is a public record because it's submitted to you all as correspondence. But so that it comes through you all in a proper formal transmission. And I would just make the recommendation Ms. McElroy is certainly able to offer whatever she wants to you all, but I would make the recommendation that you receive it if there is some kind of transmittal from a public citizen to you all to say this is from the person to the commission. Obviously, she has correspondence and email threads that she wants to offer you all, but take it, I would recommend that you take it in that form so that when it is placed on the record, it comes in that nature from that person making that presentation to you all. Nothing with regard, I want to emphasize, there's nothing with regards to content that I'm offering to you all. You cannot filter through the content of what you all receive as commissioners in the public record. I'm simply recommending in the form and the nature in which you receive them that should be formal in nature and how you receive them as correspondence. Nothing with regards to content.
I'd like to clarify two issues also. One thing is regarding the record. I want the folks out there listening to understand that when there is a correspondence between someone who's on a board who operates in the sunshine and someone else, that is part of the public record by virtue of it existing. When someone writes a letter to the editor, it becomes part of public record by virtue of it being published in a newspaper. So I think that there's a little confusion here regarding public record and the record. This isn't a trial where things are submitted to the record. Those items that you have, correspondence with the Port Authority who operates in the sunshine, and letters to the editor that are published in a newspaper are public record by virtue of existing. So I just want to clarify that because we get a little wound up in this term, the record, as if we have a court case here and whether something is admissible or not. It is public record already. What you're bringing in is already public record, and what you've brought to other boards, and it is public record, so rest assured of that. The other issue that I wanted to address is the letter that you're referring to from Ms. White. And unfortunately, Ms. White was here, but unfortunately she misunderstood my point that day. My point had nothing to do with the Port Authority. My point was with this board, and I spoke with the gentleman here in the meeting, and they know what my point was. And at that time, we were addressing the Port Authority chairman and asking for the money back on the $199,000. My point was, if you take a second mortgage behind a roughly $4 million first mortgage, you really don't have a very strong position. And you're limited with the action that you can take, meaning that you can foreclose and receive a property with a $4 million mortgage on it that may be worth half that. Or you can sue on the note in court, and certainly we're not going to sue the Port Authority. So my point was not addressed at the Port Authority, but at this board. And I understand that the board was in a position where they felt that they needed to help out the Port Authority. But it put us in a position where we really don't have anything to enforce that 199, and we need to work with the Port Authority to allow them to operate in such a way that they can make those payments to us on the $199,000 mortgage. Ms. White misunderstood my point. I'm in full support of the Port Authority. I am in full support of Mr. Pitts and the entire board. And let's be clear that although the Port Authority board has had some changes over the years, it has also had some Port Authority board members who have stayed the same and remained on the board.
They have indeed. I would like to, you said that it was all about the loan. However, you did make comments about this group rushing to judgment, and you made comments concerning that, you know, it wasn't well vetted. And so I think what Ms. White was saying in her letter was that there were plenty of conversations, plenty of vetting, and that on quite a few occasions, the public had an opportunity to comment. You had an opportunity, I had an opportunity, and the situation did not just appear out of magic overnight, but indeed it had been vetted, and these commissioners and all of the port commissioners were all on board with moving forward in a productive way in hopes to get the port on its feet.
My
So that
comment-
was part of your comment.
My
as
comments were regarding the public. And if the public hadn't attended a Port Authority meeting, but had only attended a county commission meeting, they didn't have that information. And my comment was, I don't have any issue with a county commissioner saying, I have met with Mr. Pitts, we have discussed these issues, and talking about the background that was done. And at that meeting, it didn't take place. And that was my opinion of how it was presented to the public, and I made that clear. It was
But I
about
was
the
part of the
presentation
public,
to the public.
And I
Mr. Chairman.
didn't feel
Hold
that
on
way.
1 minute. Mike,
Information packet as far as the $199,000, the Port Authority attorney, Mr. Gibson, I think it's plainly, he spelled it out here as far as the money. As far as Mrs. McElroy wanting to enter something into the record, I think we need to move. We're not getting.
I agree.
Right here. He wants to enter it into the record.
And that is fine, but I want to clarify that Ms. White's letter was off base, and I am in full support of the Port Authority, but I am in full support of doing things open and being accountable and putting them in writing. I'm
think-
just stating what I feel, Ms. McElroy,
Well,
and you're welcome to put whatever you'd like into the record.
Thank you, because, you know, regardless of the fact that it's in the newspaper or not, that doesn't mean that the thread comes into this county record. And I feel that in some cases, just because you publish in a newspaper, I mean, that disappears the following week. But if you have a record, and if you're going to talk about issues, Ms. Bryan, I think what you should do is talk about both sides of the issue and not just one side. And your comment was...
Can I get a motion to continue? Can I get a motion from the board?
Okay.
Can I get a motion from the board?
Thank you.
For like a motion. Do we have anybody else from the, Mr. Williams? Mr. Williams Senior?
Yeah. Hey, Mr. Williams.
Bill Williams, permanent residence, Mobile Street, and I got a couple of issues here, and coincidentally, one with your communications and with signs, and we didn't collaborate this. I'll talk to your thing last. First,
Mr. Williams, can you address the board?
Okay. All right. You know, we've been talking about the sad shape 386 is in and how dangerous it is. So, with these past floods, and you're out there, I happen to think, would it not be a wise thing to do to take a mobile sign and put up at 71 and 386, and then somewhere coming off the beach, so these people who are, and there's a lot of them, you know, leaving Mexico Beach, coming in, are cautioned about the dangerous road, and any verbiage you may think, you know, flashing sign, water over the road, deteriorating shoulders, whatever, to give them a heads up. Because between the Overstreet Bridge and the beaches, there's a lot of skid marks. I mean, people are just sailing off. And we talked about this before. And with the poor lighting, with the poor shoulders and everything else, I thought that may be a good move. And I don't know if it's a county road. Would the county afford to do that, or would they do that, to put a caution sign up for this when this weather comes up? I don't know if how would you go about even making this, or were you interested in it? But I think it'd be a good deal.
Let's, if, Mr. Chairman, we could freeze the gentleman's time here, or we'll extend him. Mr. Butler, can you shed a little light on this, the fact that we went out with county tax dollars and got the center line and with the reflectors to help the people, and they needed that. I mean, not everybody needed that. But to do the solid white lines was going to cost us in excess of $100,000. But understand that is it already been approved, or is it being approved? I know we fought to get that road with this thermoplastic not only in the center line, but with this on the sidelines. Am I making any sense on that? I know we have so many discussions. In the back of my mind, we had achieved that.
Yeah, because then we went out and took some of the bridge money and painted lines and put reflectors.
At the expense of the county.
For a 9.5 mile stretch from 71 to 98. What we've done now on page 10 and 11, the consent agenda this week, the board has agreed for the engineer firm to go out and do design work for roadway striping. And this would be a more permanent striping. This would be thermoplastic, not paint. The thermoplastic will probably outlast the asphalt. And that, now we have engineers that will start doing that work. And this is it's funded for this year. The odds are it'll be funded, DOT will fund the striping work, the permanent striping work, probably in the following year. It's not on record yet, but it probably will be in the following year. This is the first step. DOT gave us some money to do this.
Good. Okay, now, I just wanted to bring that to light. We're trying to do something with the solid lines, the solid lines and perma.
So since that is an evacuation route,
yeah,
anybody go on those portable signs or not?
Also, let me say again here, following up with an DOT meeting, I go to a lot of meetings. We're in the plan, do 386 in 3 phases, and we could go from 71 to 98, and my suggestion, due to the traffic flow, was that we do 98 to the bridge is the first phase, from the bridge to possibly the Jarrett Daniels Road is the second phase, and the third phase would be from there on into State 71. But we want to give the people that live out there, I think the road now, on the weekends it's used, boy, you talking about some boats and vehicles over this past weekend and all the rain that was coming off there. But it is in the works to try to get this and start they're going to do the whole thing. This is county, and we're going to get these phases up. But now getting back, and I just wanted to let you know we are working on that.
We get these notifications, and that's all. You can grant him his time.
So I'm saying a temporary heads up for maybe bad roads ahead, whatever. I just thought that may be something.
I think that's what the portable signs are for, aren't they? For emergency situations. If we have an emergency situation on that road where it has rained, and I think that we would be able to put the signs out if it is an emergency situation on that road or any road.
Absolutely. When there's an emergency situation, where there's a lot of rain, need to request that we get those put out. And I think that's an easy
fire
fix.
department or whatever.
It's an easy fix. We also, in this year's budget for DOT, got an extra $50 million put in scrap and SCOP. And Don, it'd be worth our while to contact District 3, Tommy Barfield, and ask Tommy if we can move some of those projects up. And obviously one of those projects would be the Overstreet Road. So let's make contact either by letter or by phone with Tommy and see if we can't get that moved up, because it's a need. And the deal is, it's not only are we going to repave it and restripe it, but let's expand those lanes. And that way, we don't have to spend money on striping twice either. We can get it paved, we can get it widened, and we can get it striped. So let's request that from Tom.
Yeah, and that's good.
It has come into some extra money. Florida had a little surplus this year in money, and they're going to, most of it down in fact with the DOT secretary there to try to channel some into these smaller counties.
Yeah, and that'd be a good one. Another thing addressing the board is communications with our District 3. She was on yesterday at actually in Navarro, and we talked about it, and I explained to her, tried to call you, and this was she first got in office, about 4 times, no return calls, and from then on, I called, but I'm not going to continue leaving a message. And I've had several complaints in my neighborhood about it should be even the commissioner. And sometimes we don't need you every day, but we need you to say, that you may be interested in doing this, and you tell me you call her, and then your boyfriend says, well, call her now. And what kind of answer is that? Your boyfriend asked me to call her now, and I'm looking at you.
He was asking you to call the phone to see if you were calling the number, and it was ringing.
That had nothing to do with our conversation.
I will get the phone records of my phone. I will request the records to see how many times you called.
Hold on for a minute. Let's stop.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Williams and I discussed this on Sunday.
I understand what's going on right now. We got a breakdown in the communication right now. We done talked about that. Mr. Mike Daniels brought that before the board. We discussed this about the communication. I'm not taking nobody's side. I'm not jumping on nobody's side. I get about 20 phone calls a day myself. And with my own personal life, involved with my own personal life and taking care of phone calls, some calls might get returned, some might not get returned. But this issue has been brought before the board. We talked about it 20 minutes ago. I don't want to hear it again. I'm just being straight up. I don't want to hear about the phone calls. I don't want to hear it again. Not about the phone calls, not about her answering the phone. We just discussed this.
No, wait a minute. You can't say you're going to hear that again.
We just discussed this, and
I haven't pointed my point of view.
We discussed the exact same thing that you're talking about.
Yeah, but you guys didn't. I was talking with her yesterday on the side of the road, Tan.
I understand what you're saying. The same thing that you're saying, you're telling me that you cannot get her on the phone.
I've used Mr. McDaniel, and people try to call her, and they say, who can I call? I said, call Ward. He gets it done.
Mr. Michael Moore, right here, just asked Mr. Mike Daniels, asked Mr. Yeager, asked everyone up here. And we all agreed.
Well, it's not a conspiracy. It's just fact that she doesn't answer her phone. And that's what I'm saying. You haven't heard my point of view. And I've tried, and then after a while, I just quit calling. So I call him, he get it done. Point blank.
And I understand what you're saying. I truly understand what you're saying.
And that's what I want to say.
She understands there's a problem with the communication, and I got a feeling that Ms. Bryant gonna try to work on it. And if we have this problem with them, give us some time to work on it. Come back and bring it before us. We have that same problem.
Oh well, not hard to get along with.
I understand.
There was a call early on that Mr. Williams is referring to about a fire break that I referred to Mr. Butler and discussed with Mr. Butler, and he agreed to call Mr. Williams back, and I know that he did that, and that's how I took care of your call.
It wasn't a phone call. One phone call.
Mr. Williams, I have talked to you on the phone. You have not been calling.
You never talked to me on the phone.
That's not true.
I'm trying to dissolve this, Ms. Bryant.
I understand.
And
Thank
instead
you.
of going,
I just would like everything to be peaceful.
I understand what you're saying.
Okay. I'm clear. That's all I'm saying. If you get silent, that'd be help. Telephone, that'd help. You know, look out. We need a little help out there.
We're going to work on your telephone, and we're going to work on your sound.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Anything else from the public? Can I get a motion to
So moved to adjourn.
Yes. Ms. Egan, second by Mr. Mike Daniels.